Change is possible. This podcast will show you how.
So, Brian, can you tell me about the most challenging times or moments in your life?
Well, it's a tough question. It's such a big question. I'm 64 years of age now. And probably two challenges that were work-related. One when we lost the playoff final when I was manager at Reading in 2011. 89,000 people at Wembley. Expectation was we were going to win the game, going to be a Premier League manager. The team were going to be Premier League. The game's worth about 100 odd million pounds. And we lost the game 4-2. And it took me a long time, years, to get over the result. I just felt like I'd let so many people down, all the fans, family, etc. I couldn't get over the line. And I remember drinking for 3 months continuously, day by day, every day, just to try and dampen that feeling.
What was the feeling?
Oh, I was just a feeling of absolute, bit of shame and guilt, and that feeling of I just couldn't do it and I wasn't good enough, didn't belong, all of those feelings really. And that would be one of my traumas, I would say, in my work life. And then if you're talking about a second one, the weirdest thing ever, the following year, we get promotion to the Premier League.
Everything you want.
Win the league. Everything allegedly that I want. And I found that just as difficult.
Wow.
To deal with the success, the money, the fame, people taking pictures of you in pubs and bars, and people talking about you, and people saying, oh, what an unbelievable guy you are, and how good I was, etc., etc. And I struggled to deal with that. Really struggled to deal with that. In fact, that might have been harder.
Right. And were you struggling with the fact that, was it your belief in terms of what they believed and what you believed? Was it that sort of disconnect?
Yeah, it was probably a disconnect. See, for me, everything for me was a fix outside of myself. From a very early age, I tried to fix myself with stuff. And I thought, if I could get that, and the pinnacle for me was, I got to a point in my life when I became manager at Reading Football Club, and I thought to myself, I know what's going to fix this void, this real hole inside me, if I become a Premier League manager. So the expectation was, and I'll never forget, we played Nottingham Forest in 2012. We win the game against Nottingham Forest. The team are promoted. I woke up the next morning and I thought, is that it? I don't feel any different. It was just the strangest thing. And it was that feeling of like, oh, what is going on inside me? Why don't I feel exhilarated? Why don't I feel the joy? Why don't I feel, and I feel what I'm feeling? And I just thought, and it's difficult to say that out loud because it sounds really, really ungrateful. But that's how I felt at that time. And people would come up to you and say, oh, I must be great, Premier League manager, and look how well you've done, etc., etc. And all I would say, yeah, it's great. Yeah, it's great. And I couldn't say to anybody and say, actually, I still feel anxious. I still feel like that little boy who wasn't good enough. I still feel maybe we could have played better football to win the league. Well, actually, you can only win the league once. Yeah. You can only come number one. You can't come, and we'd won medals and everything about the club and the money that came with it and the fame and all the drama that came with it. Yeah, it was great. But for me, I was still living in this population of one in my own head.
It's crazy. We've had Dr. Anna Lemke on this program, and she talks about like the dopamine pleasure pain balance, that when you experience pleasure, dopamine goes up, you feel exhilarated, but there's only one way down. It comes down, but it doesn't drop back to baseline. It goes below that and you feel even worse. So you reached the pinnacle of football, pretty much the pinnacle of football, got to the top, and then there was only one way down. And I remember you often spoke to me, Brian, about like you were shaking hands with Alex Ferguson, Arsene Wenger, like living the dream, but you just you never felt enough. Like, was that what was going on there for you?
I don't know really. I mean, I was in that company because I was managing in the Premier League. So there's only a certain amount of managers who work in the Premier League. So you would think that it would be, and it is an honour to you know. And listen, by definition, it's not all about me, but it was all about me in my own mind. But I look back and I can reflect on those times now, and I didn't lose that game at Wembley. We lost that game at Wembley. I didn't win that promotion to the Premier League. We won that promotion to the Premier League. But I made it all about me, and it was all about me in my own mind. And I was living in this self-centered world. And I was, I'll never forget. I was, we went to Old Trafford for a game, and their kit man Albert, he knocked at the door about 6:30. We're kicking off at 8:00. I think it was a cup game or something. And Albert came and said to me, "Oh, Alex said, would you fancy a cup of tea before the game?" I thought, that's, of course. So anyway, sort of 7:15, I walked in, and Alex is sat there with 2 really nice cups on a saucer. He's watching Top Gear on the TV. There's some biscuits there. And Alex Ferguson and myself just sat there for like a period of time just chatting. And I thought, this is such a surreal moment in my life. I'm a boy who was born in Slough. My mum's from Clare, my dad's from Sligo. Brought up with absolutely nothing. And he was probably the same. And he was just normal, and he was just a really good man to talk to, And they won the game, so he was happy afterwards.
Well, do you think there was any mind games going on there?
Do you know what's really, really interesting? You say that. And I don't know, probably not. But after we had that chat, you have to go and put the team sheets in.
Yeah.
So I went and put the team sheet. He didn't come in. His assistant came in at the time. The 2 captains came in. And I saw his team. I did my team talk on what his team was and the way they were going to play, etc., etc. Albert knocked at the door again. He said, "Oh, do you fancy coming in again just for a cup of tea afterwards?" So all the players are out doing a warm-up. I went back into the room. Alex was still sat there. He hadn't moved. And he said to me, "What's your team?" So he hadn't even looked at my team sheet. And I thought, he thinks he's going to win without even looking at my team sheet. I told him my team. He said, "Yeah, I thought you might do that, but I thought you might play him." And that was it. And then I walked out of the room and I thought, does he not even look at my team sheet and do a team talk? He knows he's going to beat us without even doing that. And that entered my mind.
Yeah.
I'm sure he didn't think like that, but there was a question mark.
Yeah.
But I really liked him. He was very good to me when I was a manager. I rang him a couple of times. And listen, most of the big hitter, top people are there. Very good. They're good people.
Yeah, I'd love to hijack the show and talk about football. I want to get into Rafa Benitez, but we'll leave.
Oh, I know all about Rafa. I managed against him a few times.
I doubt he had much help for you, did he?
Rafa was, I managed against Rafa twice, 3 times actually. Twice against Liverpool and once against Chelsea. And I actually got 3 results against Rafa.
No way, wow.
Yeah, we beat Liverpool at Anfield. And we drew against Chelsea. We were 2-0 down with about 10 minutes to go against Chelsea, and
result?
We got a 2-2 result late in the game.
Amazing. There's something that you said there that sparked interest for me. You said is your mum from Clare, is she?
My mum's from Clare, yeah.
Your mum's from Clare. Beautiful place, beautiful part of the country and around. But you sort of struggled with identity, didn't you? You sort of think of yourself as Irish, and you nearly had the opportunity to manage Ireland at one stage.
Well, so this would be a big part of my story, really. And I know this story because a lot of Irish guys, Irish girls, I've heard this story. Born in England, Irish descent. So we spent all our summers in Clare. We had a farm back in Ireland, a family place that we went where Grandma stayed. And when I went back to Ireland, they called me English. I had an English accent. And when I came back to England and I lived in Slough, they called me a plastic paddy. So you felt like you didn't really belong.
Anywhere.
Nowhere.
Wow.
And, my culture is, and my blood and to my absolute roots is Irish, but my accent is English. And it was a difficult place for me to be. And when I was 17 in 1979, our coach at the time was Don Howe, assistant manager of England and our coach at Arsenal. And I had an opportunity to play for Ireland, England, and I didn't know what to do. Spoke to my dad, and I was all over the place. And I played some games for England at under 18 level. At that time, you couldn't change. About a year later, I knew I'd made a big mistake. And that's nothing against England or, I live in this country, but it's how I feel. And that decision was, 45 years ago, something like that. And I've lived with that for a long, long time. And it just felt like, I could never really speak about that situation and how I felt. And I made a pact in my mind that one day I'm going to manage the Republic of Ireland. And I thought, if I can manage the Republic of Ireland, then I'm going to make it up to every Irishman out there. And
Feel more Irish.
Yeah. But the thing is, Brian, no one thinks about that. Like, this population of one is me.
Yeah.
No one's actually spending their life thinking, oh, Brian McDermott, Irish, English. They're not. I know where I'm from. I know who I am now. But that's when I think there's a part of me thinks that, alcohol came into my life because I could numb that feeling. And that was actually my solution to all these feelings of lack of identity, no identity. Am I good enough? Am I not good enough? And as soon as I had a drink for the first time, it changed everything.
A sense of completeness.
Well, a sense of
false completeness.
Yeah, exactly. It was a sense of, I wanted to shout from the rooftops, I have a solution to shyness, to anxiety, to not feeling good enough, to all of these things that you would look at as kind of negative traits. Drink. And I first had my first drink at probably 18 years of age. And I got drunk and I couldn't stop. Now, I could go long, long periods of time without having a drink, but it was always my go-to when I felt anxious and felt not good enough.
And once you started, you struggled to stop?
No, I didn't struggle. I didn't stop.
You didn't stop?
No, I didn't struggle. I didn't stop. Generally, I did not stop. I wouldn't start drinking at 11 o'clock at night because there's not enough time. But maybe my go-to time was basically, especially as I got older, not so much when I was playing, 6 o'clock. I tried not to pick a drink up before 6 o'clock. But in my mind, I'm thinking about alcohol and I'm waiting. Yeah. And this was probably in my elder years where I was not playing so much. I could go a long period of time without a drink. I never drank in the morning. I never did all these things that you hear. But I was obsessing over it.
That's the thing. Something I remember in the addiction days as well, when I was a heavy drinker as well, like when I was sitting there drinking, I'd take a sup. I'm thinking about the next sup. I'm thinking about the next drink. I'm thinking about how long I'm going to be drinking. I'm thinking about when the off license is going to close, because when the pub closes, I'm not going to have any drink when I go home. When am I going to drink the next day? It's so obsessive. It's so obsessive. Yeah. There's something I'd love to ask you as well. Like you're saying, the world of I is that self-centered game. And I was very self-centered as well. And I often wonder, did addiction make me self-centered? Or was it a self-centeredness that created the problems that lured me into addiction? What was it for you, like chicken egg kind of scenario?
I don't know the answer to that, but I just know that being absolutely ingrained and engulfed in yourself, in myself, was not a great place to be. I could never think myself out of a problem. I always constantly tried to fix myself outside of myself. I'd always point the finger outside of myself rather than point the finger back at myself. And talking about yourself and ruminating over the past constantly is not a great place to be. And I've learned that in the last 10 years, and I've been sober for 10 years now. So, that's for me, the game changer is to learn about self and actually, what is self? What is it all about? And actually, for me, on a daily basis now, I do certain things in the morning that, that has been an absolute game changer for me, a friend of mine said recently, win the morning, win the day. So I wake up every morning and I do certain things and have certain disciplines. Oh, absolutely. It makes a big difference to me.
Oh, the same. I was only in London yesterday at a workshop and literally win the morning, win the day, techniques on that. Before we get into the success part, how bad did it get for you in the end, Brian?
How bad did it get? God, I don't know. I can't, on a scale of 1 to 10, for me, it was probably a 10. But you don't realise that when you're in it.
Yeah.
When you're in it, you You don't realize that you're in a situation that is really, really bad. I mean, it got to a point when I walked away from my wife. I walked away from my family. I was living in a flat in Windsor. I was managing in the Premier League at that time, and nobody knew. And I hadn't told anyone. My assistant coach, my assistant manager, Nigel Gibbs, didn't know. Our director of football, Nick Hammond, didn't know. Nobody knew, and I didn't want to say anything to anybody. I just said, it was just one of those things, etc., etc. You know, I'd walked away from the love of my life, my wife, and, you know, it was bad. At the time, you don't think it. You just think, oh, this is the way you're living. And I used to think, I got to a point when I used to go to bed at night and just think, I just don't want to wake up. It was like that bad. And, you know, I had so much fear and so much anxiety that I would go to sleep having had a big drink, where I'd maybe go to bed at about 1 o'clock in the morning and go into sort of a semi-comatose state instead of going to sleep. And I would wake up after about 4 hours with that dread and fear and that anxiety and think, I can't do this, I can't. And I had to sort of lie there for the next 2 or 3 hours. And then I had to go and work in the training ground with all the players and the staff, etc., and put on that face and that facade.
That's so hard. So for what looks like you at the peak of your life to the outside world, you were at your worst.
Yeah.
And you had to wear a mask, and there was so much riding on you performing and being there. The challenges and the stress of that must have been incredible.
Yeah, but you don't realise that at the time. You think this is what life's about. You think that you think, okay, this is my life and this is how it's going to be. And you know what, the last thing you're going to do is talk about it, because you can't, because you look like you're going to be incredibly ungrateful. But I couldn't reach out to sort of ask, to say to people, I'm really struggling here. Who can I talk to?
Yeah.
You know, I didn't want to burden the staff. I certainly wouldn't be talking to the players. My wife wasn't there at that time. You know, she'd just gone. I'd gone. I'd walked away. So it was just me and my thoughts, and that was it really. So, yeah, I mean, that's why I talk about connection now. I mean, I would no more sit with my thoughts now. If I'm having a bad day, I just pick the phone up. I literally pick the phone up without even thinking about it. Yeah. I'm actually humble enough to pick the phone up now, whereas I wasn't before. And I probably, in brutal terms, have the humility to pick the phone up and say I'm struggling. Yeah.
And I'm dying to get into the nuts and bolts of the tools that you use today and the tools that you use to pull yourself out of that hole. But what's success like for you today?
Yeah, so success for me is a good night's sleep. Success for me is having a coffee with a friend and being in the room, both physically and emotionally. Success for me is to, if someone reaches out to me and if I can help them and lead them into a better way of living, because I've lived in that world that is not a great place to be. Most of it is giving back. Most of it is having purpose. Success for me is playing a round of golf and trying to get better. It's doing a talk. I do lots of presentations and talks on all sorts of different things, and just being in the room and not manifesting about, not obsessing about the talk. Once I've done the talk, and I just leave it in the room. Like, I'll come here, you and I will have a chat today. I'm not going to obsess about this conversation. Have the conversation. It's lovely to see you. It's lovely to have a conversation with you, and then walk away and leave it in the room. That's success.
And you know what I heard there, Brian? Success it's not about me.
No.
It's about other people. Everything you said there was about connection, friends, loved ones, family, other people. And that's the inner peace. That's the peace it gives you.
Yeah, it is. And look, I've got my wife back, and, we're nearly 40 years married. Incredible lady. My 2 daughters, beautiful daughters. We've got 2 beautiful granddaughters. That's success, all of that family, which is incredible, really, that, that I've got that. And, looking back, if I'd have carried on down the road that I was going down, I wouldn't be sat here now. I'm absolutely convinced about that.
Yeah, 100%. What did you do? What was it that got you out of the hole in the end?
So I'll never forget, I was I was working for, I'd managed Leeds United, I'd managed Reading, managed Leeds United. And after Leeds, I went to Arsenal, and I'd done this role before. I was like a senior international scout, and I was traveling all over the world and watching football matches and trying to come up with players for Arsenal. And one day I went to the Emirates. I think we were playing Middlesbrough at 4:00 in the afternoon, and I sat at the table in the boardroom. There was 4 of us around the table, and I'd been on a 5 or 6 day good drinking spree. I thought, I'm not drinking today. I'm definitely not drinking. So the waiter came up to the table. It was about 2:30, 4:00 kickoff, and he said to me, "What do you want, red or white?" Now I'm supposed to say Diet Coke. In my mind, I said red. So I had half a bottle of red wine, and I drank the half a bottle of red wine, 2 glasses, whatever it is, watched the game, got out of Arsenal, ended up back at Marylebone tube station, got back to where I lived in Beaconsfield. Now in Marylebone, there's a pub on the right-hand side there that I've been in many times. I never went in. There's a Marks and Spencer's on the right-hand side that I never went in. Got on the train, got back to this station at Beaconsfield, got the taxi driver to drop me near my house, but not outside my house. I can go left to the pub or I can go right to my house. I go left. I go to the pub. I'll only stay till 9:30. I stayed till 1 a.m. I got back to my house, and I was back in my house at the time, but not with my wife. I was living in a spare room at that time, looking to get a flat to move out, but she'd brought me back into the house. She'd let me come back. And I went into the garden and I drank another bottle of red wine. It was 3:00 in the morning. I was 53 years of age. It was the 15th of February, 2015. And I woke up the next morning and thought, I can't do this anymore. I was done. I was beaten. I cannot live my life like this anymore. I went downstairs, and my wife was downstairs in the study, and I said, can you make a phone call for me? I need help. And she put her arms around me, and she made a phone call that changed my life. And I got help. A guy rang me. I went to a meeting. I got involved in a 12-step recovery. I went to lots and lots of meetings. I learned about myself. I learned about recovery. I learned about having a program to live. I learned about spirituality. I learned about peace. I learned about serenity. I learned about all sorts of different things in the last 10 years. And that's what changed my life and saved my life. And there's a guy called Mike who saved my life.
Wow, it's unbelievable, Brian. And literally, it was that moment of vulnerability, letting your guard down, opening to your wife, that connection piece, that one moment. Like, if that one moment didn't happen, who knows where you'd be?
No, exactly. And look, but you know what, and as an addict, once you've outed yourself, it's so difficult. And I had a moment of panic about 2 or 3 hours after I'd outed myself. Thought, oh my God, what have I done?
Genie's out of the bottle.
The genie's out of the bottle. I can't do this now.
Yeah.
I won't be able to stop drinking. I wanted to drink. I liked drinking, but drinking didn't like me anymore. And it wasn't working. I'd be drinking. I thought to myself, well, you'd be able to talk about this. But for me, my thing was, okay, the drink has kind of stopped working. Maybe I need to start taking drugs. But I was scared of getting on the front page of the papers. The back page was okay, but the front page is not a good place to be if you're a football person. And I was scared to do that. So I never did. I never did take drugs. But I did something which absolutely is so much beyond drink and drugs and anything else I've ever had in my life, which has given me an incredible sense of peace. Incredible.
It's crazy. It's the insidious nature of addiction. Like, it's like a force that tries to trick you. It's cunning. It's conniving. And even it felt like addiction was fighting back. Like, it was all of a sudden you had that moment of vulnerability. You let the genie out of the bottle, but addiction was trying to put that genie back in. It was trying to fight back.
Yeah,
it's really bizarre. You never relapsed. That was your moment, and that was it for you. You were done, and it was a clean break you had away.
Yeah. So I stopped drinking on the 16th of February 2015. I've not had a drink one day at a time. Right, I never say to anyone, I'm never going to drink again. I'm not going to drink today. I'm in London. I'm with you. I'm in the studio. I know what my day looks like. I know what I'm going to do tonight, and I'm not going to drink today. And then tomorrow's another day, and I plan my day again. I start my day the way I always start my day, with my disciplines and whatever. I might go to a meeting, I might not. I do whatever I have to do to protect myself, and that's the key for me. Do I obsess about drinking or not drinking? No. Have I got a void inside me that I used to have, this big void? No, that void's gone. You know, I still have my identity issue. Some mornings I dream about playing for Ireland, like, you know.
Yeah. Or going back, do you miss football? Like,
No, I don't miss it. I have this dream about, putting on a green shirt and playing for Ireland, and I wake up like, oh God, that's such a shame.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, you know.
Yeah.
I can't ruminate on that either, because then that becomes completely self-indulgent, and you know, and it is what it is. But no, I just look at life now, and I was playing golf yesterday with a friend of mine, and I said,
you have to get out for a game someday. I'm a big golfer, yeah.
Oh, do you play?
Yeah.
Oh, great. No, we'll definitely play. But I was saying to him, you know what, sometimes I think I have a sense of sad. I've got this kind of inbuilt, I don't know if it's Irish in me, but this sense of melancholy and sad. I don't know if you ever feel like this.
In what way?
I just have a sense of sad. It's like, I don't know what it is. Right. I can't even describe it. A sense of like, you know, I have a great life, but I still have that sense of like, it's just, that's a shame. You know, maybe I'm 64 and I think, oh my God, I love my life now.
Yeah.
I suppose that's what it is now.
I wish I could have.
Yeah, and we all know where that leads.
Yeah.
If only, or I wish I could have. It doesn't matter anymore.
Yeah, and I get that. It's like I think sadness wouldn't be the word I'd use. It's like, God, that would have been. It's a bit of a shame. It's not a heaviness. But it'd be like, imagine that would have been nice if I found this a little bit earlier. You know, that way.
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like that. But you know, listen, my journey's my journey. Everyone's different. You know, I got to learn about life at 53.
Yeah.
You know, I thought I knew stuff. I knew nothing. I knew how to manage a football team, and I knew how to put a mask on, and I knew how to do a team talk in a dressing room, and I knew how to put a team together, and I knew how to, but the biggest thing is I knew how to be an actor.
Yeah.
And that's the key for me. You know, I could persuade the team that they could win at Anfield, you know. And when the team went out to warm up, I would be in that dressing room on my own thinking, God, we could get publicly humiliated here. You know, this could be so embarrassing. I mean, it happened to me once. I was manager at Leeds once, and we lost. One of my big things is, live on TV, we're going to lose 6-0. How embarrassing. We lost 6-0 to Sheffield Wednesday. And it was like, they keep showing it on Sky. I'm like, oh my goodness me. And it happened.
Yeah.
It happened. And they keep showing. There's 2 games they show on Sky. Losing at Wembley to Swansea 4-2 and losing to Leeds.
It's like it's in the archives.
It's like the 2 games that my biggest defeats in the world. They keep showing them. And then they also show, we were also in a game once where I was 4-0 up against Arsenal and we lost 7-5 in the game. And they showed that one as well.
That was some game.
Oh, mate.
That was some game.
Do you know what's funny? People in the streets, was you manager of that team at Reading when you were 4-0 up against Arsenal? I go, no, nothing to do with it.
I think they showed that. That's the world keeping you humble.
Yeah, no, that's no, and I do talks on stuff like this. And listen, the Arsenal game, I look back at it, I think, oh my God, I thought it was the worst day ever. Yeah. It's my club, Arsenal. I played for them for years and years and years and worked for them. And, you know, Arsene Wenger's on the line. And there was a little bit at the end when they scored the 7th goal and Arsene just looked at me. It was like he felt sorry for me.
That's a place you don't want to be.
You don't want to be in that place. Not as a professional sports person or as a manager.
I was at your talk, actually. It was in ESB in Ireland that time where you were shown. That was the imposter syndrome talk. And it was absolutely phenomenal. I'd love to ask you a question though. I'm interested in this. Do you think De Bruyne now could have convincing that team that they could win at Ireland? The actor is gone, let's say. So do you think, was that like a power that you had through that false belief kind of thing?
Yeah, no, I think it'd be easier to do it now.
Easier to do now?
Yeah, I think
it's good to hear.
Yeah, no, I think what it was, you know, you're hiding behind a facade all the time, and I don't hide behind that anymore.
Yeah.
You know, look, if I've got a situation which is painful, I feel it. If I've got a situation which is loving, I feel it. You know, when you're in active addiction, and I don't need to tell you, you feel nothing. You don't really, and actually you don't want to feel nothing. That's why people say, oh, the problem you've got is drink and drugs. No, that's not the problem. That's the solution.
Yeah.
The solution to your problem is the drink and the drugs. And if you don't get another solution to your drink and your drugs, you have a problem.
Yeah.
So you can't just stop drinking and taking drugs. You have to find something else that's going to take that problem away.
And that's the key. And I think that's one thing that people don't realize. Like at the start, for an addiction to become an addiction, it has to be a solution at the start. Otherwise, it's not going to become anything. Like it is a short-term solution to the unbelievable pain that you're going through. It's not a solution that's ultimately going to work. But I think that's really key. The solution that you found underpinning that, you mentioned like win the morning, win the day, connection. Like what's your ritual look like? What's your day look like to stay well?
Yeah, so and these are disciplines for me. Discipline, without daily practice discipline, I have no peace. I wake up at 6:30 in the morning. The first thing I do is I put a gratitude list on my phone and I send it to 12 different guys that I know, great friends of mine, mentors of mine, people that know the journey, know where I am, know where I'm at, know where they're at. First things first, I read 2 readings, one a daily reflection reading on a particular day, which is today, whatever it is today, the 11th of April, whatever, I don't know.
What's the book, just if anyone's
just
interested?
a daily reflections.
Daily reflections,
yeah.
Right.
I have a stoic reading, daily thing as well.
Is that Ryan Holiday's?
Ryan Holiday.
It's a great one. The Daily Stoic.
The Daily
Brilliant.
Stoic. I read the Daily Stoic every morning. So the daily reflections and the Daily Stoic, and I read them both. I then 10-minute meditate for 10 minutes. My wife will take the dog out, and actually my wife brings a cup of coffee up. She does it every day, which is nice. Yeah. She wouldn't have done that 12 years ago. And then I get on my knees and I ask for a day where, you know, to the God of my understanding, whatever that spiritual power is, you know, I just basically say, look, if there's anyone who needs me today, let me be there for them, you know, and that kind of thing. And then I'm ready. And then I'm ready to start my day. And I don't miss a day.
Yeah, that's key, isn't it? I think that's where people struggle. Like they see that the discipline as chains, but like I heard a line one time, discipline equals freedom. Like that discipline gives you the freedom to live.
Yeah, and that's what I've learned, you know. And look, I do other stuff as well. I have people that I help in recovery. I go to lots of meetings, which are incredible. There's meetings all over London, you wouldn't believe. You know, I've been to a meeting in Ukraine. You know, there was like 4 people in this meeting in Ukraine years and years ago. I've been to meetings in Italy, in Spain. I've met incredible people. You know, I thought it was a badge of honor years and years ago to say I didn't really have too many friends. I had acquaintances. I've got proper friends now, incredible friends. You know, people that I would reach out to. I have someone who's a mentor of mine who's like 33 years in recovery, that if I'm struggling one little bit, I pick the phone up. I mentor 5 or 6 different guys, and I always say, look, guys, make sure that you pick the phone up and connect. If there's anything that's bothering you at all, just connect. Make sure you pick the phone up. It's so, so important.
How many podcasts have a sponsor whose primary objective is creating positive changes around the world? With a focus on nurturing youth well-being, the Kind Foundation's message is simple. Kindness is powerful and worth paying forward. In each episode, we share a challenge inspired by their work and ethos. Small actions create big ripples. This week's challenge focuses on self-care. Take time to do something just for you. Invest in yourself.
Yeah, what advice would you have for someone? It's the question. It's the question I get more than any of all the questions I get. Is like, how can I help a loved one?
Yeah, but that's a tough one.
It's a fairly tough one, isn't it?
Yeah. So sometimes you can't.
Yeah.
You know, it's like everything else. I had to want to stop. It had to come from me. You know, someone might say to me, and no one did. My wife did, but apart from that, no one else did. No one else knew that I was drinking the amount I was drinking. But even if she said, look, you're drinking like that. So the more, if you get someone around you who knows that you've got a problem, you kind of distance yourself from them because you don't want them to know. Yeah. And you're so much in denial, if that makes sense. You relate to that?
100%. I think about it as like the addiction is defending itself. Like it's like, metaphorically speaking, it's like a shield of armor that is protecting you. And if anyone's trying to take your shield off, well, you're going to distance yourself, you're going to get angry, you're going to defend that position, or the addiction is going to defend that position.
Yeah, no, that's it. The addiction defends the position that you've got. And then, so, by just keep constantly saying it, generally an addict will remove themselves from that situation because they're scared. There's so much fear, and there was fear, and I was scared, and I was fearful. If it's a loved one, hopefully they reach out to you and they say, look, I need help, like I did. But it has to come from them. Yeah. And I've seen people try to get family members in treatment or to recovery programs.
Doesn't work. Doesn't work.
And that's really hard. And I've seen mothers not let their sons back into their house when they're homeless. And that sounds, I can't even imagine it, how brave a thing that is. But I've heard sons say that was the best thing that's ever happened to him.
That was again, chatting to Anna Lemke about this, and she said, like, we kind of talked about it together. It's like, you need to facilitate safe consequences. But the person in addiction needs to know, like, if you're homeless and you keep on getting another chance by the parents or whatever, well then, it's a crutch, But if you realise there's no going back here, like this is the end, this doesn't work anymore, that will give you a chance to hit your rock bottom. I don't like using the word rock bottom because I think it can be a bit of a cliche, and not everyone has to hit rock bottom, but you have to hit an edge where it's just too much, and that gives you the chance of recovery.
No, I agree. And rock bottom for me as well, I don't know what rock bottom is. Rock bottom for some person is not the rock bottom for someone else. I've heard rock bottom stories of people in crack houses and doing all sorts of stuff and have no money, whatever, and doing all sorts of stuff that they have to do to get money to buy crack, and that wasn't their rock bottom.
Yeah, some people don't have it. They go so low. It's like below rock bottoms I've seen that are extreme, and it's just not theirs. They don't have them.
Right. I've got someone I know, and I'm not going to say his name, so it's anonymous, but he was living in a skip. He had a tenner in his pocket, and he had a bag of whatever, cocaine or heroin, and he thought he was doing all right. I look back at that and I think, wow, what a story. And he's 13 years sober, this guy now.
Wow, that's incredible. That brings me back to, do you ever watch the program The Wire?
No.
It's a great program. It's my favourite program. So gritty and real. But there's the lads in it, they're homeless, they're living in like crack dens, and they're around the place. And it just shows you how powerful addiction is. Like, I've no want for drugs, I've no need for drugs. I find the whole idea aversive. But when I see them getting their drugs, there's a scene in that program where they're in a crack house, this little dingy place that's filthy, dirty, no furniture in it, like very dangerous place as well. But when they actually just put the drugs into the system, there's a little twinge of jealousy just strikes me as, they're lucky. They're lucky.
Oh my gosh, I totally relate to that. Do you know what, Brian? I was a few years ago, and I was like, I think I was about 4 years sober. I was working at Arsenal, and I was in Nice, in the south of France. I was going to watch a game in Nice that evening, and I was walking down the road, and there was a guy sat outside a shop. Obviously, he was homeless, and I'm going back to this nice hotel that I was going into, and he had 2 cans of Kronenberg in front of him, and I thought to myself, God, how lucky is he? That is the weirdest thing. And I actually thought, how lucky was he? He's got 2 cans of Kronenberg. I like Kronenberg. And it was like, whoa. I looked at that and thought, that is mental thinking. That is insanity.
It's insanity.
Yeah.
And when you look at the brain science behind that, I think that's the challenge. The brain never forgets. It keeps it just in the memory, just in case you need your crutch again. It's a self-preservation mechanism. Yeah. So the want never completely goes. So that's why I think the rituals, the disciplines, finding that peace, and why you have that on a daily basis, like, and it's not about just surviving past addictions. It's about thriving. That for me, that's really living a disciplined life is a beautiful life, you know.
Yeah, no, for me, it's a bridge to normal living.
Yeah.
Look, I'm an addict and I'm an obsessive. Now, being obsessive is a curse and a blessing at the same time.
Yeah.
Because when you're obsessive, you want to be the best you can be, whatever you're doing, you know. And I go and do talks, and I want to be a good talker. And when I present, I want to do a good job.
Yeah.
And I obsess about trying to find a way to get this talk that I do as perfect as I can. No, I never get there.
Yeah.
I never get there. You know, you was in the room. One of my biggest issues that I've ever had was tech. And I think, oh my God, if the tech goes down, I'm in big trouble. You were in the room in London, in Dublin.
The tech was a disaster.
Went down. The
as
tech
bad
went
as
down.
it could.
The tech went down.
Yeah.
And the kindness in that room that day, and you were there, they just asked me questions from the room. And then the tech came back on again and I could start again. And everything was fine because of the kindness I got from that room that day.
I think you're being too humble, to be quite honest. I think it was your calm, your composure, your ability to navigate the room. If somebody's doing a presentation and the tech is going down, I've seen many people panic, but you were totally in control of that situation. And I remember you felt very compassionate for the tech guy who was trying to sort the problem out.
I felt sorry for him.
Yeah, it was funny. It was, but it was like, I thought you were totally in control, and that was a really powerful talk. And I would say one of the most powerful moments from that was you in real time handling that situation, which probably drove home the message of what you were saying even more.
Yeah, no, well, I appreciate you saying that because at the time I didn't feel like that. I just felt like, you know, the worst thing that I thought could happen happened, and actually it was fine.
It was fine.
You know, in your mind, you always think of the catastrophe. I mean, for me, I can catastrophe. So for me, my first thought generally is a negative thought. My first thought about anything in life. And I've learned to note my first thought and let it go. Let it go. Let it go. Because it's not, my thoughts are not me. It's just a thought.
It's just a thought.
People think, you know, people say to me, oh, do you ever think about drinking? And I went, yeah, now and again. I walk past a pub at 12 o'clock or 2 o'clock in the afternoon in London and everyone looks like they're having a good time. And yeah, that first couple of drinks, I'm sure that'd be great. But at 2 o'clock in the morning, it ain't so great. It's not so great. And I know where that first drink's going to take me. Yeah. And that first drink's going to take me somewhere I really, really don't want to go to, especially now.
Yeah. Did I tell you about the talk I done at the Helix?
No.
At the big event? I'll tell you about this. It's actually, it taps into the I, the me, and the gratitude and the connection with other people. So I've done thousands of talks at this stage. I must be in the 1,000 mark at this stage. I've never forgot my lines on stage, ever. 1,000 people, Helix Theatre in Dublin, TV cameras were there recording the whole thing. Done a rehearsal that day. Everything went well. Fully confident, going to deliver a slick talk. This is going to be great. And it was the first time my mum ever seen me at a live talk.
Wow.
And the cameras, because we were recording for the TV show, the lights was on the audience, so you could really see everyone in the audience. It was a surreal experience. Started talking about my trauma and the impact with family, seeing my family out there. Mind went blank.
Goodness.
Dish, absolutely gone. So I was standing there looking out at the audience, and it was like a fight of me was trying to come in there, you know, that way. And I was like, oh, this is happening. So I'm standing there on the audience looking out this crowd of 1,000 people. And I says, just give it a minute. This will come back. The tread will come back. It's happened to me before, like down talks. You just thought it lands back in there. And I was like, wow, this is not coming back. So I started making up things sort of on the spot. Wasn't really talking very coherently, but people that knew the talk saying, this isn't part of the situation. And it just wouldn't come back. So I remember someone from the audience, I actually just labelled it and I says, I've actually completely lost my trail of talk, guys, give me a minute. But it wasn't coming back. And I remember I could feel the panic setting in, and obviously me comes in, you're going to make a show of yourself, oh my God, the show is going to be stupid, your career's going to be gone, you're a speaker, oh no, that panic mode. And someone says, take 5, Brian, a fella in recovery, great fella, John Boland. And I says, right, I'm going to take a few minutes, guys. And I walked off stage, but I was actually okay. I think all of the work, the discipline, the tools, I done a breathing technique, and I says, this is going to be fine. I can go back out here. This is fine. But behind all of that, there was a feeling of, God, you're making a show of yourself here. There was that self-doubt was creeping in. What if you go out and you do it again? But it was a beautiful moment. My little nephew was there, and he actually said to me sister, he says, I want to go backstage to Brian. And she says, why? And he says, I want to give him a hug.
Oh.
And he came back, gave me this spider monkey hug. Gorgeous little fella he is. And I'd calmed my system down. I'd got the tread back, and I says, right, felt confident I was going to go back out. But when I walked back out on stage, Brian, there was a lot of people from recovery residential treatment centres there, right? Incredible crowd. They stood up, gave me a standing ovation. The love, the emotion, the energy I felt. It was like a collective hug from the audience. We have you, Brian. I'm getting goosebumps just talking about it now. That should have been the worst speaking performance of my life, or memory of my life. It is the best. And I go back to that moment every time. The gratitude, the connection, the love, the feeling. For me, that was recovery right there. It was a beautiful, beautiful moment. And that's what life is about. Connection with other people, belonging, love, and that gratitude piece. It's just so bloody important.
And you showing that vulnerability in that room.
Back to vulnerability.
And that vulnerability allows other people to be vulnerable in the room. And they all want you to do well.
That's it. It opened up the space. I could have gone on giving a slick talk. People would have clapped. It would have been great. But that vulnerability opened up a space for something special.
Yeah. No, slick talks are slick talks. You know, we've seen a lot of slick talks. But you're about lived experience, and you're about actually being your authentic self. Yeah. That's the key for me, is just being your authentic self. It's just an amazing place to be.
Yeah, it's a challenge. And do you think that's part of the piece that you have? Like, you talked about, like, at your worst and apparently your best, there was no authentic self there. So now your piece is about living authentically.
Yeah, I guess. I mean, you know, it's like life's different for me now. You know, professionally, I was flying really. Allegedly fly. Well, you know, the facts would say you're doing all right here. You just
objectively.
You know, you look at it and you go, that's the facts.
That's the life, yeah.
But actually,
the dream for many people.
Yeah, and you know, you're walking out at Old Trafford, you're walking out at Anfield, you're walking out at all these massive grounds with all these big hit managers and in front of 50, 60,000, 70,000 people, you know, at the Etihad, at Manchester City, and, you know, walking out at Wembley. But none of it was enough. None of it was enough. None of it was good enough. You know, you're buying yourself a big car. It's not enough. You're trying to find joy in a clothes shop, going in and buying a blue suit and ending up with 8 blue suits from different brands, and, you know, and then finding a flat in Windsor which overlooked the water and overlooked Windsor Castle, and it's not enough. None of it is enough. And I try and talk about this to people, say they don't really understand it. And
you have to live it.
You have to live it, you know. And that's why I love lived experience talks. I think, oh, no, I get this. I get this, you know. And sometimes I listen to the science of what should happen in an event or whatever, and I think, well, that's not how it works. Lived experience for me is so, so important. But no, I just feel very, very grateful. And I think gratitude is the key. And I think for me, just being grateful a day at a time, and it's everything for me, one day at a time. One day at a time. Some days I went into a bit of a dark place for about 3 or 4 days. And I said it to my wife, so I'm not good. And she went, it'll pass, it'll be okay, it'll pass. And I spoke to a few people. And it took about 3 or 4 days for me to come out of this dark place, but I needed to talk about it because I wanted it. Something inside me was saying, you don't need to talk to anyone, don't talk to anyone, just stay on your own, everything will be fine. And it was trying to take me back into that place of isolation. And I managed to get out of it. And generally I've had a decent run of calmness and peace.
Yeah. Yeah. Is exercise a part of your life?
Yeah, well, exercise for me is walking around a golf course.
Yeah.
So, you know, 8 miles and I walk around a golf course and carry my bag. So that would be more my exercise rather than sitting in a gym. I love it, you know, I love it. Play golf with great friends and just trying to get better and play golf. And it's I think Steven Tyler talked about golf the other day. He went around in 65, ex-addict. Where was he from? Aerosmith or something? A band?
Steven Tyler, he's a golfer. I can't picture him and I got the leather jackets and the tight jeans.
I saw something about him. He said a lot of addicts play golf because if you hit one really, really good shot, it brings that dopamine back. And that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
And that's how I see it. Look, you know, I'm trying to get to sort of trying to play off a 12 or something like that. Yeah. I'm never going to be a great golfer, but it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
I love it. I absolutely love it.
I love it as well. I'll tell you a funny story. 2014, I got recovery 2013. I started college in 2014. So I had a time where like I was expecting to come out of treatment and it was going to be a parade. Brian's back, Brian's clean.
Yeah.
All my friends would be there.
Yeah.
Turned out I didn't have any friends. No one even knew I was in treatment centres. My family were there, one or two close friends. So I had a lot of time on my hands. And golf was a huge thing. And I went to meetings in the early days, especially in the early days of recovery, but I wasn't really finding my zone. I think I went to meetings, but they didn't really vibe with me, to be quite honest. But so I played a lot of golf on my own, which wasn't ideal in a way, but I was strong in my early recovery. I had a real spiritual experience. But it was like, talk about wanting more. Like for me, the addict wants more. I really got too caught up in education, but I was playing golf probably 10 times a week.
Wow.
It was crazy, but it was beneficial. Like you're not going to kill yourself playing golf, you know. But 2014, I joined the Golf Society. And I played so much golf, I was just playing great. But 2014, Black Bush, lovely course in Dublin, hit a hole in one.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and the dopamine rush I got from that. But it was definitely, I often laugh saying, it was the year where everything shifted and I even got a hole in one. The only hole in one I'm ever going to get, you know?
Goodness me.
It was funny. So what are you doing today? Brian, what's life look like today?
Yes. Well, today I've literally I have every day planned.
Yeah.
I have to. And I want to, and I make sure, I have my days off plans as well. Like I call them recovery days, like an athlete, but it's just a day when sometimes I just sit there and do nothing. But today I'm here and I'm doing this and I'm having a good chat with you and it's nice to see you. And then I'm going to go back on the train, go back to my house, have something to eat. And then I'm going to go to Haringey tonight. And there's an event in Haringey that I'm going to do something for a friend of mine. So yeah, and then tomorrow we start again. Same thing, same disciplines. Yeah. And I know what my day looks like tomorrow. I know what Sunday looks like, but I won't worry about tomorrow. I'll worry about today and I'll concern myself about, am I okay? Am I in a good place today?
Yeah.
And generally I am. I can't describe to you the difference between me 12 years ago, 10 years ago and today. I remember 12 years ago, 8th of April, I was in my house. I'd gone back to see my daughters. I'd walked away from my family. I was in with my daughter in the room. We were talking. I was in the room, but I wasn't in the room. And that feeling of and she knew I wasn't good. And then about 3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, I went and signed for Leeds United. I was manager at Leeds United. And when I first went into Leeds United, we had 5 games to go and we did quite well. We won 3 out of 5 and and then we had I had the Leeds United experience and all this trauma was going on in my life and whatever. And look, I look back at Leeds United fondly in as much as like the Yorkshire people, very much like the Irish, really loving people. Yeah. I had a good, they accepted me there at Leeds. But for me personally, it was a tough time.
Yeah. Well, what is the football world like? Like, is it? Can you be peaceful in that world of football?
Oh, it's so hard to talk about what that looks like. I mean, I get a lot of managers talking to me and coaches talking to me about how they feel because I've expressed it in an open in public and how I felt, and then I say, well, this is how I feel. And they say, that's how I felt. That's how I feel. That's how I feel now. But obviously it's difficult for managers to come out and express themselves in the public domain when they're managing because it might be perceived as a so-called weakness. It's not. But, showing that vulnerability, I think is a good thing, because you've got all the players. So by definition, there's 11 places on the team. The squad's got 25 players. So 16 of those players are being rejected on a weekly basis, daily basis. Yeah. So you have to deal with that rejection of not playing. You have to deal with all the ups and downs. Now the football side of it, you look at something, sometimes you look at the money side of it. Players struggle to reach out and say, I'm struggling with this because they're earning so much money. Yeah. And then people go, well, what have you got to complain about? And that might be true. But that doesn't mean that you're not the person.
They're still human. They're still going to have them feelings.
Yeah, and like I've said, money's not the game changer. Big car's not the game changer. Yeah. Just getting a sense of peace and looking at yourself inside and actually having awareness of how you can fix yourself to us, you know, how you can comfort yourself. That's the key for me. You know, I know what to do today if I'm struggling, and having those tools are just an absolute. I would have paid a fortune for this, absolute fortune.
And like I truly believe, like if people could be more comfortable with themselves, have more peace with themselves, have a better value set. Like I think of some players like that, like what's the winger for Newcastle?
Gordon.
Yeah, what you call it? When I hear him speak, he's just really into this world of really trying to get to know himself. Probably a bit too, not too mindset orientated, but it's about performance. But he's really in that world. But do you think strategies like that, like I think they should be bringing this into school kids, younger kids, like how to communicate, how to be happy, how to regulate your emotions? Is that something that happens in football today to elevate that 1%?
Probably some of the players go to certain people to have conversations. You've got well-being people at the club now, not many of them.
Right.
You know, if you've got a big club and one well-being person is like all these players, you know, the problem with the players are they don't want to reach out and say I'm struggling, because if they do, they might not get picked on the Saturday.
Yeah.
So for me, my suggestion would be get yourself a mentor, get someone. For a manager, find a mentor, someone who's been in that role, who understands, who's got awareness of himself, and speak to that person regularly. As a player, someone who's been in that role, you know, ex-players going back to football clubs, I think it'd be a game changer. Just being around and wandering around the place, you know, 35, 36, 37, 38-year-old players, you know, and those players that are leaving the game, why let them leave the game? Bring them back so they can help these young kids. They can help them navigate your way through football. I mean, I thought about it this morning. I've got a presentation called Navigating Your Way Through Football for Academy players, for players, and I'm going to write a presentation navigating your way through football for managers and coaches, you know. And for me, it's just about talking in a public domain about how it was for me, and then see what comes back from the room. And I'm going to do that soon. I'm going to put that out there in the public domain just to talk about it, and it'll be stuff that, you know, that is so important to talk about.
Yeah, it's the essence of it all at the end of the day. Like no matter what field you're in, and there's professional success, there's all these different successes, but if you haven't got peace with yourself, like you wake up with yourself, you go to bed in your own head, like if you haven't got peace in there, like that's the foundations of everything.
Yeah, and look, you're a great example of that. You know, if you look at what your life was like and what your life is like, you couldn't have been more north and south.
Yeah.
You know, that story is just unbelievable. I mean, I've heard your story. I know your story. And it is, you know, like when you look at, you know, and you say it in the public domain about your heroin addiction and whatever, and all of these stories, and you think, oh my goodness, how have you got to be where you are? And how can you and I sit in a chair, a couple of chairs, and be comfortable and not want to be moving every 5 seconds and thinking the settee wasn't comfortable enough? It was nothing to do with the settee.
Yeah.
It was comfortableness inside yourself. And you can see that when I meet you. I can feel it from you. I can feel that aura of peace and calmness from you.
Yeah, and it's likewise with yourself, Brian. It's like I knew we just have a calm, peaceful conversation today, and it's an energy, it's a feeling, isn't it? It really is. And it's like, I think our journeys are, most people in recovery, whatever language you want to put on it, it's turmoil, the peace. That's the journey. Pain, the joy. Like it's just, and it sings out people when they find it, you know.
Yeah. And joy is just sitting, and just being.
Yeah.
And just having the ability to sit on your own for 2 hours without distracting yourself. And for me, joy is like, okay, I might go back and watch the Masters for a little while, the golf. Love it. And then I'll go to Haringey, and it's a long way, but that's okay. I can sit in the car. I can be calm. If there's traffic, that's fine. There's nothing I can do about it. Knowing what's in my control and what's not in my control. Trying to control the whole world doesn't work for me anymore. And I know this. Most stuff is outside of my control, and that's okay.
It's beautiful, Brian. You're sending ripple effects out to the world with the work you're doing. And I actually feel a lot more peaceful just even spending this time. It was an absolute pleasure. Is there anything you'd like to promote, talk about what you're doing at the moment?
No, I'm working for a data company called Score, whereby I'm like the football side of that data company, whereby we're trying to get you've got scouts and then you've got data.
Yeah.
And sometimes the scouts don't really get on with the data people, and the data people don't get on with the scouts. And I'm trying to sit in the middle of this and sort of saying, we need data and we need scouts and we need to come together. And what's the best solution for football? And I'm going to try and talk about it in simple terms in football language, because I know football language. I don't know data language. So that's a really interesting thing that I'm doing. I do talks in the public domain, which I love to do. Love to go out and do, loads of different talks. And I've done that for the last 2 or 3 years. I'm doing a bit of mentoring. I've done the League Managers Association mentoring course, which I loved. And I love doing that. So I've got loads going on, plenty going on. And, and listen, I'm sure one day you and I might do something in Ireland if they have me.
I was just going to say that, actually. We'll need to do something at some stage. And I have a couple of things planting seeds up in my head around a talk around addiction and peace and stuff like that. It's another great guy running with Chris. He's doing fantastic work over in Ireland. And I can see the three of us on stage doing something quite special, actually. And just for anyone listening, if they are looking to get you in, Brian, for a talk, it is phenomenal. It's imposter syndrome. It's that there's a couple of different threads, a couple of different talks you do, isn't it?
There's loads of talks on like winning, what it's like to win big, what it's like to lose big, imposter syndrome, not feeling good enough, and that feeling of not belonging, that feeling of identity. When I talked about Irish English, I'm Irish with an English accent. I was born in here, and then where do I belong? They don't want me there, they don't want me here. And that feeling that's ingrained in me, all of those things. And and do you know what, for me, it's just forgiving yourself and being nice to yourself and being good to yourself. That's the key.
Yeah, being kind to yourself, really is. Brian, this was an absolute pleasure. Thoroughly enjoyed just this calm, peaceful conversation. It was great to connect, and thank you.
Great to see you. See you soon, Brian.
Thank you for listening to today's podcast. If you enjoy this content, I've created a range of online courses around mindset, mastering your self-talk, unlocking the secrets of addiction recovery and morning routines, and many, many more. If you're interested, simply click on the link in the show notes and use the word resilience to get free access to all of that content.